Hello, and welcome back to Uncinched, the unfiltered horse podcast where we uncinch what's really going on in the horse world. If you beelined in here from part 1 on this episode series, hi bestie, thanks for joining us. However, if this is your first ever episode you're listening to and you're kind of confused, this is part 2 of a 2-part Uncinched Confessions series. So this is your sign to head back and listen to part 1 if you haven't already done so.
And if you are new here and you don't know who we are the Uncinched Podcast Gals. My name is Taya and Britton is here with me, and we're super happy that you're here joining us today. Just as a quick recap, this is an Uncinched Confessions episode. Mm-hmm. So this is a segment where we ask you, our listeners, aka the void, aka the horse community, we ask an open-ended question and you answer us back anonymously. Then we read through the confessions here on the show and we compare and contrast just to learn, and honestly, we do sometimes have a good laugh.
Yes, very much so. You know, the question we have for this specific confession series is, what is a piece of advice that you took that sent you down the wrong path? So just as a recap, that's exactly what the question is that all of these people are answering today. In part 1, there were some really good ones, and we both think there are some really interesting opinions and a lot of advice that we have personally heard ourselves as well, which is low-key spooky. But as crappy as it is to have things go wrong after you listen to someone who, quote-unquote, allegedly, is more knowledgeable than you, it's important to know that when you share those opinions, you're also helping people now learning from your mistakes. So it's always taken with a grain of salt what you're learning here and how you want to approach the situation.
From the bottom of our hearts, we just again want to say thank you so much to those who submitted. It takes a lot of nerve to be vulnerable and to share your stories with us, especially stories that took you down the wrong path. Mm-hmm. So yeah, without further ado, let's go into part 2 of advice that sent you down the wrong path.
Okay. It's a long one to start it. All right. Hopefully I don't let this dyslexia win. Okay. Wrapping legs. Lots of eventing friends were very serious about wrapping up legs for trailering. In the 90s, it was about wrapping with a spritz or with cool jelly. Lots of wrapping. Then it was about only wrapping dry. Later I learned that unless they were next to another horse where they could step on each other, just to not wrap. Another stupid thing was some old guy told me was to just never mow your pasture because it would reseed itself. Okay. Yeah, only the weeds do that. Keep it mowed to keep the weeds down and strengthen the roots for grazing. That gets the grass dense because energy is going into the roots, not into the seeds. That's an interesting one. I didn't expect to hear about seeding.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that. I'm going to trust you on that one, bestie. I don't know.
On what?
The seeding.
Oh,
the
you know what?
Seeding itself.
I don't feel like I can really comment on that either. I think I do. I think you do have to reseed your pasture after a while. I don't think mowing it down.
It depends how big your pasture is, I think.
Depends on your region, where you are.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but...
I mean, I don't think we ever did growing up, but we had a lot of land that was just... I don't know, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one I can't comment on.
Yeah.
I'm not super sure.
As for the wrapping legs part... I feel like that's still kind of a confusing thing. There's so much information out there, and there's, quick wraps, there's stable wraps, there's polo wraps, and then you got friggin' Billy Bob down the road saying, well, don't use polo wraps because they don't offer any support and they get hot. And then you have other Billy Bob, well, you better ride in polo wraps because your horse might hit its legs.
Themselves.
And
look at the science, and on both sides, it's science. Yeah. But yeah, wraps are a hard one. Honestly, it's hard to comment because even I don't know what a spritz is.
Yeah. I'm
What's
like,
a spritz?
Spritz makes me think of like...
That's what I...
Like,
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Spritz sounds like a drink
like,
that I want to
what's a
have on a
spritz?
summer night. Like,
I'm like, what's wrapping with a spritz? If somebody knows, please feel free.
you know what I have
Tell me.
seen? There was this one chick that I showed with that had cool... I think maybe this is the cool jelly wraps, but they were like literal jelly, and that like the material of them, you'd like keep them in a container and you would wrap them like a polo wrap.
I've never...
Yeah,
okay, sorry, everybody. I'm going to look on the internet. Wrapping with a spritz. Horses. Because I think this will become an alcoholic drink otherwise. Okay. A spritz or sweat wrap on a horse combines a medicinal liniment spray
liniment.
or liquid.
Why'd you call it spritz?
That's... Yeah. What?
Where are you
What?
from?
With plastic wrap and a standing quilt and bandage to draw out heat, reducing... Oh. That
Yeah.
seems excessive. Am I crazy? That seems excessive.
I think it depends on what you're doing. Like
And for
racehorses, I think to reduce like bow tendons and
But, like,
like swelling and
trailering?
stuff. But yeah.
That's more where I'm thinking is like... like, I could see where this might matter when you're doing certain things.
Yeah.
But for trailering... I guess how long you're trailering, because some people go for days.
Yeah, you're a rodeo.
So it's a little different. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Wrapping with... What was it? Cool jelly?
I think Mane and Tail had... I swear it was like a Mane and Tail brand.
Cooling gel, like Cool Pack green jelly.
The jelly that I saw allegedly was blue. And it looked like the same color as like Bob from like the Jelly Bob guy from that Monsters vs. Aliens movie.
Oh, Bob, like
Yeah.
the blob.
And it was around that time when it was out, and I remember looking at it and being like, Bob.
This just sounds like a liniment.
It was kind of like that. It had like the spicy, like minty, but it was reusable, like kid slime.
Reusable.
It was like kid slime as a wrap.
God,
I mean, obviously it
people's
didn't
technology.
take off because like this was a long time ago. I haven't seen it since.
Technologia.
Yeah, but that chick was like really committed to it.
Huh. Well,
And
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like with wrapping legs, there is
Lots of
so many
opinions.
things, and I feel like it's another one of those like how you talk about the feed store.
Oh, yes.
A lot of fear mongering.
Yes, I agree.
But when you buy something and you put it on without an education on how to do it properly, what do we know?
You're causing problems.
Yes.
You're also helping with misinformation because, I'm not against wrapping polo wraps. I know some people might kill me in this comment.
Hot take.
But I don't think they're bad. I think if you don't do them right, it's a problem. I think if you do them too long, it's a problem. But I don't think the actual practice itself is bad. Data is very easy to misconstrue if you're not actually sure how to read data. And a lot of these scientific studies that people talk about that are peer-reviewed, I will give them that. Often, if you actually read more than just the abstract, you learn that there's very different parameters. So when they are saying, let's say there's a scientific study, I'm just making this up. There's not one that I'm talking to referencing specifically. I'm just saying, like, if the abstract says polo wraps are bad for horses because it causes excessive heat and doesn't allow it to cool down. Let's say that. But if you read past that abstract, it goes, well, this is the parameters. And I think sometimes people look at abstracts of peer-reviewed articles, but don't look at any of the actual parameters or how they went about it or what was going on in the study.
How the product was used,
Exactly.
who the product was used on.
How long the product was used. And so then they see that one information and that's
Like, science said.
Exactly.
And then they don't do it, but they didn't actually read
or they don't
research or-
know how to read the research, because an abstract could say, in this many horses, it showed this significance of this, and it showed a significance of that. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's bad. It's just saying there's a significant pull within this parameter. So I think sometimes people misinterpret scientific studies.
Absolutely.
Or they go in, if you go in with a preconceived notion, it doesn't matter what a science study shows, you're going to find flaws or what you want to find.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes if you're already going in with like, I know these are bad, oh, these studies all confirm it, like confirmation bias.
Yeah, totally. And I think wrapping legs is something that it's so specific on what kind of wrap you're using, who's doing the wrapping, how long it's on, when is it being applied,
why.
And there's so many factors to there.
Absolutely. And I also think it's very interdependent to disciplines too, because there's, like you say, with eventing versus, a Western pleasure, like how they see wrapping can be very different too. So I think you're right. Like this advice that led you down the wrong path for the reseeding, I feel like you'll get through. I think you'll get through it.
Yeah.
You'll just have to seed. It sucks, but it is what it is. Can't comment too much on that. As for the wrapping with spritz and cool jelly and the belly bobs and all that, I think it's do your research and do it at your own discretion, how you choose to do it, and actually be informed about what these mean and make the decision that's an informed decision for you.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. This next person says, on the advice that took them down the wrong path, it would be very hard to narrow this down to a single piece of advice for me. I guess the short story would be, I had this trainer at a barn where I was boarding my horse who would make me cry a lot.
Already off to a bad start.
When I would cry, she reassured me with this advice. You're not the only person who's cried today. I know you can do this because you're a committed owner and you are here for your horse. Just stick with it. First of all, why are you making so many people cry?
My thoughts exactly.
I went to her thinking I just needed a little help for 30 days or so, mostly for myself to get help with a couple things like ground driving, set him up on the right path, and give me some pointers kind of thing. I was gaslit into believing I wasn't doing enough for my horse, who at the time was 2 years old and only doing groundwork. She convinced me I wasn't going to get anywhere without her and that my horse was going to be dangerous. She specifically told me that he was going to be a bolter under saddle. I started avoiding the barn, avoiding my horse. I had him in full-time training with her for 90 days and then 2 to 3 times per week for 3 months after that. He developed some really weird rearing issue, becoming incredibly spooky, and was basically impossible for the relatively inexperienced barn staff to handle. I hated my lessons with her, but every time I brought a friend to come watch, she would change up her tune drastically and would pretend to be a different person, so nobody believed it was as bad as it was. And she would reassure me over and over again that I was doing the right thing with this training, even when I cried.
Oh, God.
That was probably the lowest point in my horsemanship, and also the point in which I was expending the most mental and physical effort. Anyway, we moved and she got fired. He's under saddle now and is a complete angel baby who's never taken a wrong step. Whoa, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
My favorite. First of all, why are you making so many people cry?
Yeah, that was the first thing going through my head. I'm like, when somebody has to say to you that you're not the only person who's cried today, that's a questionable thing to say to someone. Like, can you imagine telling one of your students, it's okay, everybody's cried today. You're doing the right thing. Like, what? That's just such a fucked up thing to say. Oh my God. I've never even had anybody cry in my clinic. Ever. Like, in any of my clinic. Oh, no. I had one girl. But not because of anything. She she felt like she wasn't doing enough and she was worried. And I actually was like, no, girl, you're doing great.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never had anybody start crying because I basically told them, like,
you suck.
Yeah. And it sounds like she basically didn't say you suck, but kind of did. Was like, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. You're going to get there, but you're not doing it right.
Your horse is going to be a bolter under saddle. You need my help.
Fear-mongering.
Fear-mongering. These kind of people who work in the industry, who make people feel small, and so that they need them, and that is like
how they get business.
I could
write a book.
Yeah, I could write a really mean long book about how much that peeves me off, because I'm sorry, but as someone's trainer, like, the average client is doing this for a hobby. We've said this a million times. The average person is doing this for a hobby. And we all know that horses aren't cheap. You're spending so much money to do something that's allegedly your hobby and supposed to be a stress reliever for you.
And you're distressed.
Yeah, and you're distressed. Like, and for the trainer to, like, be so
minimizing.
Yeah, like, why who, I don't understand people who, like, that's how they live their life and, like, that is how they run their business. Like, I think
it's 100% where somebody is trying to make you feel that they need you, you know?
Yeah.
And it sucks. And the other thing is, I've seen this with trainers too, where maybe they don't do fear mongering, but they say, oh, you still can't get that. You still can't get that. And make you feel like you can't succeed without them too. Because they're like, oh, you know, you're still not doing it right. You're still not doing it right. They won't correct you. They won't help you. They just say you're not doing it right, so that way you keep going for their program, like online programs, or you have to pass their levels, and they won't give you a way to pass them. They will just keep showing you the same information. You think you're doing it right, and they say, oh, you're not. They won't teach you another way. They won't pass you, but you have to keep paying to go to this. And I think that's one of the ways that she's basically kind of doing that.
Yeah. And, like, I don't think people realize, like, especially from, like, as a coach or a teacher role, I don't think a lot of people take into consideration, like, how much influence you have on somebody.
Yeah.
And how much your opinion does matter to somebody. They're paying you usually pretty good money. And when you are berating them and telling them that they suck, like, yeah, you can go home and sleep at night, but, like, people care about their horses, and if you're making them feel like junk, like, for what? Like,
yeah.
You know, that, for this person who is doing this, unfortunately, you are not alone in this.
No.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going to listen to this episode and will have, like, I can think of a similar experience. For me, I remember working with a trainer and doing a certain exercise that, based on my previous knowledge, the exercise was kind of conflicting to what I knew. So I didn't really fully understand the exercise. And I'm a big believer on, if you don't understand what you're doing,
don't do it.
Don't do it. And so I was, like, respectful student. I was like, I don't understand this. This is conflicting to what I know, and I tried to explain it. And then the trainer was just like, well, you're gonna figure this out in a couple months. You will understand why in a couple months. And I was like, well, can you tell me what this drill, like, leads towards? Just wait. You just keep on working and keep doing it. We'll get there. In a couple months, we're gonna figure it out. So I'm like, well, I'm doing something. I don't understand the purpose of it. And so I got to stick it out with you for a couple months to figure out what I'm trying to do. Like,
yeah,
that is, if you're listening to this and you have a trainer who is kind of doing stuff like this to you, it doesn't matter if they have all of the accolades, if they have all of...
You should feel like you can ask questions.
Yeah, and, like, riding is frustrating. It's hard. And sometimes you have a cry. Like, not to say that you should never be crying.
No, yeah, I do.
But if you are every time or most of the times leaving your lesson or your training session feeling defeated and you're losing confidence, like you hire a trainer to gain confidence, whether that's in your horse or in you, should be both.
Yep.
And if you are experiencing something like this, hey, get
Find
out of there,
somebody
Becky.
Find something new.
Yeah. And to hear that, the
same goes for friendships. Don't even let's think about it not just as trainers, any relationships you have.
Yeah.
Your partner, your friendship, your parents, your any family member. You should never be coming out of every situation feeling defeated. This is my soapbox. There we go.
Yeah. That's wild. Well, I'm glad that you've moved, and I'm glad she got fired.
And I'm glad the horse is doing good.
Yeah.
Because that can be hard.
And those crappy periods of time, as crappy as they are, they really shape you. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you've learned and grown from it. And I mean, I think that's kind of what all this episode is really about is, okay, shit happens. What do you do about it? How do you move on? And then how do you help people never have that experience as well? So.
All right. Next is hard horses make good riders. Honestly, I think a series of horses appropriately matched to the rider's skill makes good riders. Being overhorsed is bad for the rider and unfair to the horse. Normalize novices learning before they teach.
That's a really good one.
I see this a lot where I've had people reach out to me who are very beginner, want to learn more about the industry, want to apprentice under me, and I'm like, okay, you need to first touch a horse. You can't just jump in here, right? I've had that a lot, but then I'll follow them or I'll kind of look at their journeys and stuff, and I'm like, man, some of these trainers or boarding facilities or stables or whatever, they will do that where they're try and get riders to be doing things that are more advanced, not properly. Where they're I'm going to get you to trotting, even though they've only had 2 lessons.
You don't know how to steer.
And they don't know how to steer. They don't know what they're doing. They're falling out. Yeah, sure, they can sit it. They're not doing, their body's a mess. Their legs are a mess. Oh, now they're look, they can run the barrel pattern and they can do it at a gallop, but their legs aren't even in the stirrups or their arms are way above their head. And it's okay, you're not teaching them. You're just having them basically have muscles that can hold them on. That's it. That's not teaching. Mm-hmm. And I get it. Everybody wants to gallop. Everybody wants to be look at me, I go fast. I'm sure I was the same way as a kid. I'm sure I'm that way a little bit now still. But I also know basics. But you can't do that. You have to start somewhere. And whether that's with a horse that needs to be at a smaller pace or the rider, it just frustrates me because it creates bad riders and bad habits for both horses and the rider. And we see people who are very novice who think they are very advanced because they can gallop around a pattern. And they're well, I know things now. And it's but you don't. Mm-hmm. You can stay on, but you don't know things. And I'm sorry, but if you've been only riding 2 months, I'm not saying this to call anybody specifically out, but if you've only been riding 2 months, you do not know riding. You don't. You can't learn that much knowledge that quickly. Mm-hmm. I have been riding since I was 3-4 years old. I still don't think I'm a great rider. And I'm not saying that I'm bad, but I know there's still things I can work on. I know that if I'm at a walk, I can practice, doing laterals and doing rollbacks. I'm not naive enough to think that I know everything. And if I'm saying that, I'm sorry, but if you never rode a horse back in June and now it's August and you're riding all the time, you don't know that much. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes as as barns and stuff, we want to give people what they want, you know? They want to ride this horse, and that horse can run, and they're safe about it. But that's not fair to the horse that their back is being pushed like that. That's not fair to the rider that their muscles are being banged up, their back is all jammed up either. And like you said, hard horses don't make good riders. It just makes riders that can stick on.
And it creates a lot of bad habits.
Absolutely.
Both. And then it also can create a lot of long-term fear. And it's dangerous.
Absolutely.
You can get so hurt on a horse. And like, I don't know, at the end of the day, when you first start to learn how to ride, like you need to start off slow, and you need to have something that like, and not all horses are lesson horses. Like you can have a really great horse who's great for an experienced person, but as soon as someone who is like unbalanced or inconsistent
They're
or
the worst.
whatever, a horse can come unglued. And you have to have a horse who's patient and who also can be kind of not self-sufficient, but like has the like ability to be like, okay, this person is sitting really heavily on my right side, probably doesn't want me to leg yield, I'm just gonna go forward.
Malleable.
I totally agree with the statement, like a horse needs to be matched to the rider's skill level. I was that kid who got a horse that was way beyond their skill level, and I rode my horse, or attempted to ride my horse for years, and I didn't learn any skills. I literally just learned how to survive. And then when I actually got a horse who was good, or that was really good
For your skill.
That was when I could actually focus on my equitation, my everything, without it being in survival mode. But I had to work through a lot of fear because I rode a horse that was way too much for me for a long time. And yeah, I totally agree. And being over horse is bad for the rider and totally unfair to the horse.
Yep.
And the other comment, normalize novices learning before they teach. Novices shouldn't be teaching people, period.
At all.
Yeah. Like,
how do you teach a subject matter that you don't know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so crazy how like a small topic that you hear about, that you understand a sliver of it, so many things, so many concepts have layers to it. And when you only know the surface level, you teach that, and then you hear other tidbits and you don't fully understand it. It's amazing how you can create bad habits for people and how you can make it a really dangerous situation for that person on that horse. And then also how you can impact how that horse perceives people, how its behavior, like it is a domino effect. Not to say that, like, I think teaching is really good for people in the sense that it helps you kind of like actually understand concepts, but I think you need to be riding for a long time before you can actually say I'm a coach, even if you are a beginner rider coach.
Yeah. And like you said, like just because you know a sliver doesn't mean you have the answers to other questions. Like if a beginner has a question that you don't even know yourself, like there's an extent where we don't know everything. I will say that. But you should know most of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Understand the basics. Understand, okay, there is one thing
and also
that
teaches bad habits. Like your bad habit because you don't know better.
Yeah.
Now goes to the next person.
Yeah. Or you make it up and then you end up on Uncinched Confessions because you gave someone bad advice that sent someone else down the wrong path.
Exactly.
Like that's kind of the cycle.
Yeah.
And so much of it is like, I don't think people are intentionally
being
trying
bad
to say bad things or trying to spread misinformation. But I think people try and seem or have themselves perceived as they know more than they actually do and bullshit their way up, and then people buy the bullshit, pay them money to teach them lessons allegedly, and then you got a whole batch of people who think that they know how to ride and they're actually doing some really dangerous things. Yeah, that was a little one, but a lot to unpack.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any more things to add on to that?
Nope.
Okay. This next person says, on advice that sent them down the wrong path, to use brute force and or pain to make the horse do anything. It eventually results in either a shutdown horse, frequently called bomb-proof when they actually aren't, or a horse that hates you, doesn't want to be caught, doesn't enjoy your company, tries to hurt you, etc. Either way, it's cruel and results in a more dangerous horse. The best way to get a horse to cooperate is to make your idea their idea, not a beating.
There's nothing to add. I think that's 100%. Like, when you're just trying to make something comply by being menacing, whether it's as a job or a boss or a dog or anything, not just horses, you're gonna suffer the consequences of a shutdown or something that loathes you. Like, think about the boss that makes you feel like shit. You don't like them. You don't respect them. You don't want anything to do with them. I think I've said this before. And it's the same thing with horses. I mean, you got to make sure you set boundaries. You have to make sure that you're telling them no in a language they understand. If they take advantage of you, they are big animals. You have to be able to set that boundary. You know, you don't need to use pain. Like, pain is not the answer. Mm-hmm. At all. And then I see that too, where a lot of horses are bomb proof, and it really just means that they don't feel like they have a voice. And then I see them either go to a different home. I've seen this a few times, and all of a sudden they learn that they're allowed to speak, and then they go kind of nutty for a period, and then they calm down usually. But they've been told they have no voice for so long, and when they do, they're like, I'm going to use my loudest voice. And then you're like, whoa, buddy, mm-hmm. You need to chill. Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, like, make your idea their idea. Or I always like to say, like, ask the right question. We've heard this before. I think it was from Trevor, where he had mentioned, go back to that episode, it's really good. He had mentioned, you know, the horse is never wrong. You're asking the wrong question. And I think I live by that a lot, because there are times where I'm like, man, I don't understand why you're doing this, but you're doing it consistently, which means I'm asking this, or you learned that this is how I asked it. And so I have to take my own self and check myself instead of just getting angry at that mm-hmm. horse for getting the wrong answer, because clearly I asked the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. The brute force thing, what I think of is, like, there is a large portion of the horse world that is built on dominance training, yeah. And forceful training, and using gimmicky things that cause mm-hmm. horses pain to get them to do what they want. And while, yes, it works, you can't deny that, you know, you can get a horse going when you make it fear you. I always think about, like, put yourself in that horse's shoes. Okay, you have no opinion, you have no voice, you're being forced to do everything. You're carrying this person on your back. I really don't think that bomb-proof horses are, like, this kind of bomb-proof horse is truly bomb-proof, because when they get put in a pinch, I want a horse who looks to me for comfort, and when all you have done is scare the horse, shown it that it doesn't have a voice, shown it that it can't escape and that it has to listen to you. If you get yourself in a situation where your horse kind of has to help you through that moment,
they don't want to.
Why the hell would they? You know, you completely take the whole partnership away from them. And then when push comes to shove, or you get put in the fire, your horse is probably not going to help you through it. And I totally agree, and it does create more dangerous horses. Absolutely. Because, yeah, they might not do or put a foot wrong, but when they see an opportunity to bust your ass off of them, they will take it, because literally what do you offer them other than pain, fear, and no voice? You know, at the end of the day, I think it pays off better to, take a little bit more time, build some trust in your horse, spend time doing some introspection and being like, okay, I'm trying to ask my horse to do this. It's not going the way I want. Instead of making it go the way that you want, how can you change and adapt your request to get what you want based on what the horse is giving you? And so many people, like, I always think, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result over, like, that kind of gist. And unfortunately, horses are so benevolent and so good that a lot of them, you can beat them into submission. But is that ethical and is that the right thing to do? Absolutely not. And I think we need to do a better job as horse people in general, and that's professionals all the way to hobbyists and people who are just learning, that, if you feel like you see this, or, someone has got that method, like, beware of that and don't support it, because positive reinforcement and relational or horsemanship, whatever you want to call it, does work. Mm-hmm. It's just people are lazy, people want to cut corners, people want it done quick, and then also people don't want to look in the mirror. They want to blame everything else and not take ownership for their faults. And horses are benevolent creatures, and a lot will just bend to the knee for you, and it's sad. It's sad. She's a long one. Buckle up.
Let's see if I can read it properly. Okay. So the prompt is advice that took you down the wrong path. That their/a horse is a mare or has an attitude or is cranky. There's always, in all caps, a reason. One mare at the stable where I ride and train was a mare, in quotations, and had an attitude. She was in her 20s, showed intermittent signs of soreness and age, and her owner was an inexperienced rider, meaning she didn't support her horse in an appropriate frame and didn't have the riding ability to help compensate. She regularly ran her mare and was starting to jump her when she switched boarding stables. If her mare protested or acted up at all, she'd kick her and yank on her reins of her hackamore to correct her. People made several comments about the mare's age and the fact that she looked like she was starting to slow down a little, but her owner was completely convinced that she had an attitude. I'd have a bad attitude too if the same situation occurred to me as the horse. Another pinned her ears at anyone who got too close. Her owner taught her a bunch of cool tricks and pulled her out to ride almost every day without doing much else or interacting with her at all. Turns out she had issues with her back and hocks, and her owner teaching her to rear recently exacerbated everything exponentially. She just hurt all the time. With permission, I started giving her an occasional treat and loving/massaging on her in the pasture, and her attitude towards me completely changed. Luckily, the barn owner had to come to Jesus moment with her owner, and the mare is doing much better after routine injections and a much lighter workload. The last one is a gelding who, through no fault of his own, went through several owners and trainers by the time he was 5. He would frequently act out and get combative when pushed and was known to be stubborn and have an attitude. Long story short, our barn owner knew when he'd been started and what the foundation was like. But since then, he'd had so much inconsistency and piecemeal training that he didn't know what he was supposed to be doing. When he got it wrong, he'd get a correction, and so he ended up being very sullen and lashing out because he'd never been given a proper chance to win and figure things out. Another trainer gently restarted him and gave him plenty of chances to succeed and realized he wouldn't be punished for doing the wrong thing if he was trying, and he's so settled and light now. Bottom line, there's always an underlying reason for whatever is going on. Yeah, horses can have a bad day once in a while, just like us. But people are so quick to assign a horse a personality and respond to that perceived personality instead of what's actually going on. I wish more people would pay attention and actually advocate for their horse. That's very long.
Yeah, it was a very long one, but
true.
Very true. When did we talk about this?
We were talking about how mares are also given a bad rap because they have an estrogen cycle that we don't often take into consideration, which makes them a little bit different than geldings. So they do have like times where they're not as happy, just like us women sometimes have some big feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about, I think it was at a different confessions where we were talking about it, but I think like when you're saying a horse always has an if you're saying a horse has an attitude or is cranky, there are some that are. I will admit there's some that are just a little bit more cranky. It's like people. Some people just okay. Like you just leave them alone. Mm-hmm. And I go back to, you hear it sometimes is like not all horses are meant to be rode. And I think that's really important to kind of assign here because they are cranky. I think there's a reason usually, like you said.
Yeah.
Some of them are just cranky, but that means that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. But a lot of the time it is due to something going on, even if you just don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think we've seen this. I mean, you've seen this, I'm sure, lots. And what you do is, my horse is kicking up and doing that. And then
he's just a jerk.
Yeah. You get in there and you're like, there's a lot going on here. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's kind of sad to me in a lot of ways that this is still a big premise. And like, I really agree with you in the fact like, yeah, sometimes there can be an attitude problem. Like I think leadership issues can sometimes create different responses in horses. Like if you aren't, again, back to novices, you don't know how to set boundaries with horses, you don't understand how they work, they can, depending on the horse, can try and overtake you and treat you like another horse, and sometimes other horses aren't very nice to other horses. So that's definitely an element to think about too, because I mean sometimes I think people can be really overbearing on the end of the spectrum. Instead of looking at themselves, they want to throw millions of dollars onto their horse, and not millions of dollars.
Yeah, we know what you mean though.
But it needs to go see the vet. Instead of being like, no, I actually need to just be better. So I think that's an element to kind of bring up too. But I never think it's a bad idea to look at the health side of things, because like we talked about it at some point, like mares have a cycle. Mares can have hormonal issues, and they have a lot more going on in them. Like someone once told me, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I think we talked about it too, is like a mare is kind of an equivalent of a stallion in the amount of hormones that they do have in their body. So they are a little bit different. They're a lot more honest, I find. Which some people like, some people don't. And that's your Kool-Aid that you're drinking. But I don't know. It's never a bad idea to look into the health side of things, because if there's something consistently happening, always rule out pain first, and then after pain is ruled out, then you can claim she's just being a jerk thing. But is she just being a jerk, or is she expressing unmet needs?
That's the other thing. That's what I mean. Like, I think I would agree that there's always a reason, but I don't know if I'd agree with I might be taking this out of context, but I think this person is saying there's always a physical problem. Reason, just from the examples. And I don't agree with that. I think that there's always a reason, whether we know what it is or not. It could be that they're feeling, like you said, their needs aren't being met. Maybe they need more salt in their diet. They need other things like that. Or, they are sore, or they just feel uncomfortable with something, or they're trying to express that they're higher than you on the hierarchy. Like they're doing those things. Those are legitimate reasons. And I think there's always a reason in that regard.
Totally.
But I don't know if I'd agree with where I feel this is going, that there's always a physical thing.
Yeah, because I feel like that general opinion, again, makes it kind of not the horse's fault, but kind of. Rather than, oh, maybe I'm not being a good leader for my horse, or maybe I'm riding so unbalanced that it's getting hard for my horse, or they're getting annoyed, or maybe I am I'm constantly, pulling on their face, and my horse finally just says,
That's enough.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Or, everything is so context based.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that, you get your horse physically figured out and you make sure that there's no pain, but who's causing the pain? Sometimes it's the rider. Mm-hmm. And we have to take ownership of that too.
And sometimes it's not a physical pain. Like, it's just, I'm annoyed. Mm-hmm. Okay, I like to think about sometimes when we pull on the reins a little bit more than we'd like to, maybe it's not hurting, but it's annoying. Imagine somebody tapping on you the whole time, just like this. After a certain point, you're like, okay, fuck off. Mm-hmm. Like, it overstimulates.
Yeah.
I think that's the word.
Yeah, and different horses have different tolerances.
Absolutely.
Some horses are patient and they don't give a shit. A bomb could go off beside them and they're like, whatever. Other horses are sensitive and spicy, and certain things matter more to them. And
doesn't mean they're bad or good. It just means they're different.
Let's say you're not a good leader and you're out on the trail and something scary happens and your horse literally thinks, this person doesn't take care of me. They go to their natural instinct to take care of themselves too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it might feel like an attitude problem, but it's fear-based, or it could be fear-based based on
X, Y, and Z,
or the leadership that you've set with your horse. Obviously, your horse could be new to you, or you could be a first-time horse person who bought a horse that maybe has a lot more needs than you expected, and then your horse might be acting out of fear just because they can't trust you. So much of that is too, like, your horse does learn behaviors after patterns, and they can start to get anxious, and they're just like us. We talk about like the love languages. Different horses express anxiety differently. Yeah. Some horses might bolt and take off and leave because the pressure is too much. Yep. Some horses might buck. They want to get whatever's scary off their back and leave. And like at the end of the day, it can be kind of personal, but like that horse is just going into self-preservation mode. And obviously, whether you're new to them or you've spent a lot of time with them, and if they're still doing that with you, that's a sign that you got to look in the mirror and kind of be like, well, obviously this horse doesn't feel safe with me when I get put into situations. So how can I help them? Yeah, and think back to the person who had that long, like, with that trainer who made them feel bad.
Yes. You the trainer?
The horse can kind of be put into that perspective, or, like, you can think of the horse kind of the same way, too. If you have a teacher who is constantly telling you that you're wrong and that you don't know what you're doing and that you're not moving right, or, you try and answer one of their questions because of how they asked it, and you get hurt or you get kicked or you get reefed on, you get pulled, eventually you're going to start to lose some confidence.
Yes.
And I think that happens a lot with horses.
Or just also knowing that when you're teaching kids, they're not going to be confident every step of the way. And the same goes for a colt or a young horse. Like, they're going to need a confidence boost. Yeah. Even if you have good leadership, things are scary. It's new to them. If they're like 20 and acting like that, a different story. But
everything is context, and that's where there is always a reason, but it is not always physical. Yeah, it's important to weigh out all the options, and I do think a lot of people are very quick to be like, "Oh, my horse did this. It's got arthritis. It's got this," and like, yes, that may be a contributing factor, but also consider how long you've had the horse, what happens, how do you react when shit hits the fan? Are you freaking out? Like, are you adding to the anxiety pot? And eventually it starts to build up, or are you getting after your horse every time they put a foot wrong? You start to develop fear, and horses, when they're scared, they do dumb shit. Like, that's a lot to unpack there too. But I agree with there's always a reason. It's not always physical. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's you. I don't know. I think we need to look more in the mirror. Okay, this one's a little one. This person says on advice that sent them down the wrong path, the advice was telling me that my clearly lame horse looked fine.
this is gonna come off rude, but like if you know it's clearly lame, why are you asking for the advice? Like just get it looked at.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's on you too.
Yeah, this one doesn't have any context, so it could be like someone who just bought a horse, doesn't know anything about it, but they gave us no context.
That's why I said I'm like this when I'm seeing telling me my clearly lame horse. Like if it's like if you can clearly see it's lame, why are you like asking?
Take some ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get it looked at.
Yeah. Take some ownership, brother.
And if you're like, oh my gosh, it's so lame, and someone goes, it looks fine. Know that you have more knowledge. That's it. That's all that means.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, next. Why am I getting all the long ass ones?
I don't know. The universe knows I'm kind of illiterate.
But so am I! All right. You can't hurt a horse. That bold ass statement right there. AKA the dumbest thing I have ever heard. Yet it was preached to me as a kid by my old trainer. It's deeply ironic how this was a religious barn where we were taught to thank our horses, but also that we have to make them go, aka kick and whip them till they listen. I feel like that rhetoric certainly still exists now, just phrased differently. Too many people assume that an animal that listens is an animal that's content, but that's a terrible thing to go by. Learned helplessness is so common. Okay, facts. Snap, snap, snap.
Snap, snap, snap. Yeah, I think we kind of have heard this statement. And it's interesting, like the same thing has kind of been said
in different ways.
Which I think is just interesting. It's sad.
You can't hurt a horse. That's just dumb. They have nerves.
A horse can
hurt themselves.
Yeah, like they get hurt all the time. Like, what are you on about? That's insane.
I'm also wondering if like maybe it's an interpretation of saying that they can't hurt, because I definitely have like I've guided trails and some horses are dead to the leg because that's what they're meant to be. So sometimes you have to be like, you can't hurt them. Like you're saying it that way. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if maybe there's that
Everything's
context.
about context. Yeah.
I'm not saying that is for sure, but I definitely have said that to people who don't know what they're doing, because they'll like give a fly tap and they're like, I'm like, no, you, and I've said that you can't hurt them, and it's not because I'm actually meaning you can't hurt them.
But it's like,
you need to give them the proper information, because if you're just a fly, it's not a clear communication, and they don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe I shouldn't say that.
That's a whole rabbit hole conversation, and everything is so context based.
Yeah.
You know, horses, you have to match the horse at its level of resistance. Sometimes, I mean,
they resist.
They resist, and like sometimes it's got to get a little bit, you got to match them, and sometimes that can be maybe not the prettiest and not the way that you want to do. I think it's whether you are do as much as it takes, and then use that to kind of show your horse like, hey, I'm meeting you where you're showing me your resistance, and kind of
I'm meeting you where you're at.
Yeah, and then usually from there the sensitivity comes. Mm-hmm. But if you are like constantly like go, I think a lot of people think they're trying to be kind to their horses, but they end up creating really dull horses who do need a bit of a kick in the ass,
or even confused horses.
Yeah,
because it's like, how do you tell what that means?
Like if I'm like trying to get you to go sideways and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, what are you doing?
Whereas it's like, hey, let's go this way, right? Yeah, like, it's a different attitude, and it gives you a different, clearer communication. I think that's kind of important too, to kind of say about that. Yeah, because I think we could definitely go on the other end of the spectrum and be light and kind and everything, but if we're light and kind and everything, we're gonna get steamrolled. To an extent, yeah. Yep. And of course you want to be light it's like boundaries. If you're too open to everybody, you get steamrolled. Yeah. Me.
Well, and then all of a sudden, like, I have this happen to me all the time too, is like you let people push your boundaries, let people push your boundaries, let people push your boundaries.
It's too far.
And then finally, like, I'll lose my shit. I'll be like, well, and then
confirm.
And then everyone's like, oh my God, I had no idea because of just,
X, Y, and Z.
You let it happen. And then when you set the boundaries, then of course the person who you set boundaries with is going to be like, well, you've let me do this the whole time. And now all of a sudden you have these boundaries. Like, what the heck? And rightfully so from both perspectives. Yeah. And it's like,
yeah, if you set them up to start, it helps everybody involved because nobody knows to do the wrong thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Philosophical.
All right. This person says, just ignore the little signs your horse isn't paying attention. That all takes care of itself.
I don't know what this means. Do you?
Like, if your horse is like looking at something, do you just not do anything about it?
I'm not quite sure what this is meaning, so I don't know.
Just ignore the little signs your horse isn't paying attention. That all takes care of itself.
I feel like that's two different things together.
Yeah, I would love some context.
Yeah, I think you need to give a little bit more information.
Yeah, and like how you listen to this advice and how you did you wrong. Because this is like very kind of
broad.
Yeah, but also kind of niche.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a certain situation happened where you just let your horse not pay attention to you and like you fell off a mountain or something. Like,
see, I saw it as different. I thought it was like your horse isn't paying attention to you. Like it's like they were maybe like doing something or they weren't supposed to, and it's like, no, ignore that they're looking at this. Like it's on you. They're just not paying attention to what you're asking. Like that's where I went with it. But now I don't know. I feel like you need to give us a little more information. I think this one's to be determined.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I feel like I could think of a couple things to talk about with this one, but it definitely needs context.
Yeah, I don't know.
But just don't ignore the little signs, y'all. Make sure your horse is paying attention. It doesn't take care of itself, allegedly. Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
We're done.
Wow.
That wasn't so bad.
It wasn't so bad. It was fun. I mean, it always goes by quick because...
Does it? I feel like we think it does, and you guys are like, all right, ladies,
shut up. Shut up. No, you have obviously enjoyed yourself because you're still listening.
Well, I would have to say we really saw some reoccurring themes throughout the entirety of the episode from today and
part one.
Part one.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of people who have this dominance theory.
Yeah.
And people have learned that doesn't necessarily work. I found that one as a very consistent theme.
Totally. And I think that it's great that it got discussed so much because, there are better ways of doing things. And at the end of the day, I think going a more ethical route and more horsemanship, whatever your definition of horsemanship, that's another broad topic. But going the more horsemanship-based route, like... I think as a whole, we can all agree that like being kind to horses and doing it well and being educated and taking the time it needs to take benefits you regardless of what you want to do with your horse.
Yep.
And it's nice to hear that although some of y'all have struggled, that you've come out the other side. I liked reading the ones where it was like, I was crying all the time, or this was terrible and this was happening, but now me and my horse are happy. Like, I like reading those ones. And I think for those listening, if you've listened to a submission in today's episode or in the last one, and if something you heard like really resonated or hit close to home, hopefully you learned something from this episode, or maybe if you were illuminated to something that you weren't aware, that's good. But also kind of nice to hear that some people have come out through the other side, and that's important to focus on and remember too. There's a lot of negative in the horse industry. There's a lot of things that you can do wrong, but talking about it is an important thing, and then also trying to see the positive in moments like this too. Yeah,
I also think it's a silver lining to remember that, like, and this is just in life in general, there are a lot of things that don't go your way. There's a lot of things that feel shitty, but you grow from them, you figure it out. There are experiences that we don't want to have, but it teaches us something.
Absolutely.
Whether we like it or not. Like
Absolutely.
I have had so many lessons that I didn't want to learn.
Yeah, but they're serving you well now.
Yeah, or they've taught me other things. Like,
yeah.
I am much more empathetic. I mean, I think I've always been, but to different situations that maybe I would never have been aware of if I didn't have the experiences I had, and allowed me to be more attentive.
Yeah.
It's not because what I went through, I deserved it, or that it was something that like I should be proud and get through. It sucked, but it did give me perspective to different people. And I think sometimes you need to find, not that I'm trying to say that, but you need to find the silver lining in whatever you go through, because it will teach you something. Whether it's a great lesson or not, it will teach you something, and it will be something that you take with you.
Yeah, you either win or you learn.
Mm-hmm.
You win or you learn. And the mindset is absolutely everything, especially with horses.
Yep.
And so from both of us, we just want to say thank you again so much to all of you who wrote back, sent in your submissions, shared your, like, this isn't a fun topic. This isn't like, yeah, I got, first place at this show.
Ever.
I learned that I'm really good at lead. Like, no, you're telling us that you fucked up a little bit.
Yeah.
And not by fault on your own. That does take bravery. And hopefully, for sure, if there is people who are going to benefit from your story, and that's where do not see any of the things that happen as a negative. Know that you are better off as a horse person after that, because you have obviously learned, and that you are helping other people not go down the same path that you did. And that is a huge badge of honor, I think.
So with that being said, if you want to be part of this conversation and you felt like you missed out on this, or you didn't have something to add, we have one more confessions coming down the pipe way later in the season. But the question is, what's the most expensive mistake your horse has ever made? I think we've all had those, so we're really excited to hear. Please give us the best story.
And give us detail and context.
If you didn't notice from the swear into one sentence, we don't have much to add.
Don't write us a novel, but give us the tea.
Yeah.
Give us the tea.
So with that being said, you can submit this through email if you want. You can do it through DMs. But we also have a link in our bio, which makes it anonymous. It's a sheet. We cannot tell who you are. We don't know anything about you. I promise it will not get back to you. So you are more than welcome to submit through there. We'll put the question up on our link. And please get crazy. Go crazy.
Get crazy. Tell us the dumb things that your horses have done.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, make sure you're following and interacting with us on socials. We love to hear what you have to say. We love when you tell us what's going on in your life. We want this to be a community, and part of being community is where we all work together. So make sure you are saying hello if you want to. We read everything. We see your emails. We see your DMs. We see it all. So don't be afraid to reach out. We're happy to have conversations.
Also, side note on that note, on social media, if you love this Uncinched Confessions series, we have been doing a weekly Uncinched Confessions on our Instagram stories. It's not as crazy as it gets here on the episode, but if you want to be a part of some conversation, if you want to just get more involved and share some knowledge like you kind of saw here today, do give us a follow and get involved. And we love to hear what you guys write in, and we like to share that with our community.
Absolutely.
So please, you are all welcome. If you listen through these episodes, you're part of the family now, whether you want to or not. So
good luck getting rid of us.
So please be sure to connect and get your voice heard, because your voice really does matter.
We also have our next episode coming up.
It is going to be on something that many people face in their lives, and that is imposter syndrome.
Dun, dun, dun.
Spooky, spooky. So, we're going to talk about imposter syndrome and how it connects to horses on the next episode. If this is something that you struggle with, I think a lot of us do.
Not me.
Not me? No, never. If this is something that you want to learn about, hear about, please stay tuned for the next episode because it's going to be a good one. And yeah, I know we both have some personal experience with this. So yeah, stay tuned. And thank you as always for listening to the Uncinched podcast. And we will see you next time. Bye!